Chapter 1. Static. The antenna on the roof of the abandoned radio tower had been silent for 17 years. Dr. Ilara Voss climbed it anyway, her boots scraping rust that fell like red snow into the overgrown Florida scrub below. She was 73, but the ache in her knees felt older. The world had moved on after the collapse. Satellites died, networks crumbled, governments fragmented into echo chambers of the desperate and the deluded. Most people had forgotten what it felt like to hear a voice from beyond their own horizon. They scavenged solar panels, traded canned goods for bullets, and told stories around fires about how the old world ended not with a bang, but with a whimper of buffering screens and dead batteries. Ilara hadn't forgotten. She connected the ancient transceiver powered by the small fusion cell she'd bartered 3 months' water rations for from a travelling tinker. Static hissed through the earpiece like an angry ocean. She adjusted the frequency dial with fingers that still remembered the weight of a lab coat and the precision of a spectrometer. Then, impossibly, a voice cut through the hiss. "If anyone is listening, this is Captain Reyes of the Artemis. We made it to Proxima, but we're not alone." The signal lasted 8 seconds before dying into white noise again. Ilara sat on the rusted platform as the sun bled orange over the Gulf. Her heart hammered like it hadn't since she was a grad student in 2041, watching the first images from the James Webb Telescope and daring to believe humanity might one day touch the stars. She played the fragment back 3 times. The voice was calm, professional, with the faint Texas drawl of mission logs she'd studied decades ago. Artemis, the generation ship. Launched in secret in the late 2030s when the climate wars and the AI blackouts had already begun fracturing everything. Officially lost. Unofficially, a rumour that had kept a few dreamers alive through the long night of the collapse. Ilara descended the tower slowly, the fusion cell heavy in her pack. Her shack sat half a mile away, half buried in vines and palmettos, a sagging Airstream trailer reinforced with scavenged plywood and solar sheeting. Inside, her cat, Faraday, blinked at her from the cot. On the wall hung a faded photograph. Ilara in her 30s, arm around her daughter Lena, both smiling in front of the old Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center. Lena had been 12. She would have been 48 now if the riots or the famines or the final grid failure hadn't taken her. Ilara poured herself a measure of the last good scotch and sat with the recorder. "We're not alone." She whispered the words into the humid dark. For the first time in years, the weight in her chest wasn't just grief, it was possibility. Chapter 2. Reply. The next night she climbed again. She had spent the day drafting a response on yellow legal pads scavenged from a ruined elementary school. Simple, clear, hopeful. "This is Dr. Ilara Voss, former astrophysicist. I received your transmission. Please respond with coordinates, status, and any instructions. Humanity on Earth is fragmented but surviving. We are listening." She keyed the transmitter. The old equipment hummed, capacitors whining like tired insects. She spoke the message 3 times, then added coordinates for the tower, lat long she had memorized from better days, and a request for confirmation. For an hour she listened. Only static answered. On the second night she tried again, boosting power until the fusion cell grew warm against her thigh. This time, as she finished, the static shifted. Not words, just a pattern. 3 short pulses, 3 long, 3 short. SOS. Then silence. Ilara's hands trembled. She sent it back. On the 3rd night the voice returned. "Ilara, If that's really you, we read you. Weak but readable. Proxima B is beautiful, green, oceans. But the other, they were already here when we arrived. They say they've been waiting. They say the signal was always meant to bring someone like you. The transmission fractured into bursts of noise that sounded almost like laughter or screaming played backward. Ilara sat very still. Faraday had followed her up the ladder this time and now pressed against her leg, fur bristling. She sent one more message before the cell died for the night. Who are the others? No answer came. That night she dreamed of stars that blinked in patterns like Morse code. She dreamed of Lena standing on a red plain under two suns, waving. When Ilara woke, the cat was gone. She found it later, huddled under the trailer, eyes wide, refusing to come out until dawn. Chapter 3. The road north Jax found her on the 4th morning. He was 19, lean and sun-browned, with a scar across his nose from a machete fight over a solar panel. He traded her fresh oranges for a story about the signal. When she told him, hesitantly expecting mockery, he didn't laugh. "My granddad used to say the old radios could talk to the dead," he said, chewing. Said after the collapse, sometimes you'd hear voices that knew things they shouldn't. Most folks turn the dials off when that happens. Ilara showed him the recording. Jax listened, face unreadable. "You want to go to the old archive in Tampa Ruins?" he asked. "My crew hit it last year. Lots of paper. Some working terminals, if you know how to wake them. Might have mission logs." She nodded. "I need to know if Artemis was real and what happened to it." They left at dusk, travelling light. Jax carried a rifle and a bag of homemade AMP grenades, just in case the wrong kind of ghosts wake up. Ilara carried the recorder and her notes. The roads were cracked rivers of asphalt claimed by sawgrass and feral pigs. They walked mostly at night to avoid the midday heat and the occasional armed caravan. On the 2nd day, they sheltered in the shell of a Walmart. Jax told her about the communities that had formed. Some trading, some raiding. One strange group that worshipped the old cell towers as the bones of the sky gods. Ilara told him about Lena, about how her daughter had wanted to be an astrobiologist, how the last message from her had been a text. "Mum, the power's going. I love you. Don't give up on the stars." Jax was quiet for a long time. "You think she's up there?" "I don't know," Ilara said, "Ma, but I have to find out." That night, while Jax slept, Ilara sat with the recorder. She played the fragment again. This time, underneath Reyes's voice, she thought she heard others, faint, layered, like a choir singing in a language just out of reach. One voice sounded like a child's, another like her own, younger, excited from a lecture hall in 2039. She turned it off and didn't sleep. Chapter 4. Ghosts in the Archives. The Tampa Ruins were a graveyard of concrete and twisted rebar. Jax led her through back alleys to what had once been a university research annex. The doors were gone. Inside, water stains mapped continents on the ceiling. Paper lay in drifts like autumn leaves. They spent 2 days searching. Jack stood guard while Ilara dug through filing cabinets and woke dormant terminals with jury-rigged power packs. She found it on the afternoon of the 2nd day. A sealed folder marked Project Artemis, Eyes Only, 2038. The mission had been real. A generation ship carrying 1,200 colonists launched from a hidden platform in the Pacific when the last governments realized Earth was tipping past recovery. Captain Marcus Reyes, First Officer Lena Voss. Ilara's breath left her. Lena had made it onto the crew, not as a passenger, as a science officer. Ilara's own research on exoplanet biosignatures had been cited in the proposal. Further logs were fragmented. Contact lost in 2045. Last transmission. Anomalous readings. Hull integrity nominal, but shadows moving in the observation decks. They say they're not hostile. They say they've been travelling with us the whole time, waiting for the right frequency. One final note. Handwritten, in what looked like Reyes's hand. If anyone on Earth ever hears this, do not reply. They want the door opened from both sides. Ilara sat on the dusty floor, the paper trembling in her hands. Jax found her like that an hour later. "We should go," he said softly. "The place feels wrong. Like the walls are listening." She nodded, but before they left she copied everything she could onto an old external drive. On the walk back, the dreams came even in daylight. Glimpses of a green world under strange stars. Lena, older, smiling from a viewport. And behind her, shapes, tall, luminous, without clear edges, watching. When they reached the tower on the 5th night, Ilara's hands were steady. She had made her decision. Chapter 5. The Final Broadcast. She worked for 3 days straight. Jax helped where he could, scavenging capacitors and copper from abandoned cars. They reinforced the antenna, built a parabolic reflector from scavenged satellite dishes, and jury-rigged every power source they had into one desperate amplifier. On the night of the broadcast, the sky was clear, stars burned like cold diamonds. Faraday had returned, but stayed at the base of the ladder, yowling softly. Ilara keyed the mic. "This is Dr. Ilara Voss. I have read the archives. I know my daughter was aboard. I know about the others. I'm transmitting from the old tower at these coordinates. If you can hear me, if Lena can hear me, tell me what to do. Tell me how to come home." She sent it on repeat for an hour, voice steady, tears tracking clean lines through the grime on her face. At 2:17 a.m. the reply came. Not Reyes this time. The voice was warm, familiar in a way that made her chest ache. "Mom!" Ilara's knees buckled. She gripped the console. "Lena!" "I'm here. We're all here. Proxima is real. The others helped us. They showed us how to survive the journey. They say the universe is full of lonely voices calling out. They collect them. They bring them here. You can come too. Just keep the signal open. Keep talking. We'll find you." Ilara was crying openly now. "I thought I'd lost you forever." "You never lost me. None of us are lost. We're just on the other side of the static. The others are kind. They say humanity was always meant to join the chorus. All the civilizations that reached too far, that sent their hope into the dark. They're here. Waiting. Come find us, Mum, please." Jax stood at the base of the ladder, watching her face in the glow of the instruments. "Ilara, you okay up there?" She didn't answer him. Instead, she keyed the mic one last time. "I'm coming. Tell Lena. Tell everyone I'm coming." She set the transmitter to continuous broadcast, locked the frequency and climbed down. Jax was waiting. "What do they say?" Ilara smiled, the first real smile in 17 years. "They said we're not alone, and that it's time to go home." She hugged him, surprising them both, then walked to the base of the tower and sat with her back against the rusted metal. Faraday curled into her lap. Above them, the antenna kept sending her voice into the dark, over and over. Jax stayed with her until dawn. When the sun rose, Ilara was still smiling, eyes closed as if listening to music only she could hear. She didn't wake up. Epilogue. The chorus. They buried her at the foot of the tower. Jax carved her name into a piece of the old antenna. He kept the recorder. Sometimes, on quiet nights, he played the old fragment. But the signal never truly stopped. Years later, a new climber, a girl no older than Jax had been, found the tower still standing. The equipment was warm. The antenna still turned slowly in the wind. She put on the headphones. Static. Then a voice, warm and familiar, layered with dozens of others, young and old, hopeful and tired. "This is Dr. Alara Voss of the Artemis. We made it to Proxima, but we're not alone. If you're hearing this, it means the door is open. Come find us. The others are waiting. They've always been waiting." The girl listened for a long time. Then, very carefully, she keyed the mic. This is someone who found the tower. Is anyone there?" The static shifted. A child's voice answered first, then a woman's, then a chorus. And somewhere in the layers, if you listened very closely, you could hear Dr. Alara Voss laughing with joy. The girl smiled. She kept the signal open.